Okay, we are all set.
Well, thank you, Dr. Byers. Thank you for doing all the technology to make this meeting available. I'd like to call the meeting to order, the special meeting of the Amity Finance Committee at about 5:31 p.m. Let's see, public comment, first order of business. Did we get any?
No, I did not receive that. We had any public comment for this meeting.
Okay, fantastic. So our sole order of business is to discuss the budget that Terry and Dr. Byers have spent hours looking at and trying to shave down for us. So if at this point, if I could turn it over to you, Dr. Byers.
Absolutely. I'm just going to share my screen here.
Thank you.
And then you guys have been through this with me before. I sort of hide all of you so that I can see the presentation. It shouldn't take long, and then we can answer any further questions that you have. Let me just move this on up here. All right. So the budgeting process, we know where we are before. The last time I spoke with the AFC, we were sort of on line number 3. So we have continued to work since January looking for possible reductions to get to what is the final recommended budget that I'm hoping to present to you this evening. Back in January, when I went out to the town finance committee meetings, we actually presented a budget that was a 3.72% increase. Some of those changes from the original AFC presentation were the result of contract negotiation or settlements that finally came through. That was where most of the reductions occurred. In February, I presented some possible reductions to the Board of Education. Most of these included some personnel positions, whether it was in athletics, some new teacher requests that we had for math. We reduced the musical instrument lease by moving that into the capital plan, some capital improvement plans. We also reduced some work days for both middle school counselors and department chairs. And we showed the reduction of 4 positions, 3 teachers and 1 administrative assistant, all of those primarily impacting the middle school. The impact of some of those proposed reductions, we received a lot of feedback and comments on. I believe at that the board meeting, there were well over 75 public comments expressing support for the budget and the positions. So I just want to sort of review for the AFC what the impact of those proposed staff reductions were. The elimination of a literacy teaching position in the middle school life arts rotation does mean that we would have 2 reading teachers in each middle school rather than 3. Literacy will be built into middle school English classes as part of the implementation of the Reader's Workshop model that we have been planning and always intending to start. It's just a little bit delayed by COVID. And we will have a literacy coach that is shared between the 2 middle schools to support the Reader's Workshop implementation. And it would require that general music be added to the life arts rotation to replace literacy, which would be removed. We also looked at the elimination of a 10-month secretary position. And what would end up happening is that the middle schools would share 1 secretary as an itinerant, and the position and responsibilities still to be determined. And then the elimination of the support services team leaders. There's 1 at each middle school. And those responsibilities would shift to the middle school pupil services coordinator, which was a position that we first added into the budget and into the administrative staff this current school year. All of those proposed staff reductions, or at least the first 2, are obtained through attrition. And so those would be reductions that we would continue to propose moving forward with, because I do believe they are both somewhat planned. And it does not mean that somebody actually would lose their job as a result of those reductions. However, remaining in the budget, and this was presented to the Board of Education, so I want to be very clear, remaining in the budget are those other 2 middle school teaching positions, which will maintain health and PE education at the middle school, and it will also maintain Mandarin as a world language option at the middle school. We also reinstated the 10 summer workdays for department chairs. This was based on an analysis by Ms. Loomis in terms of the use of those summer workdays throughout the district by department chairs and school counselors. We are assuming 2 retirements because at this point, that is all the information that we have, is that we will have 2 retirements. And we did have to increase summer curriculum writing for the classes that are going to be impacted by the middle school scheduling changes, namely putting general music into the life arts rotation. So we did spend a lot of time looking for additional reductions. We have reduced the health insurance reserve. We have it at 30% for this current school year. We had already proposed bringing it back down to the normal 25% for the next school year. But based on feedback from the Board of Education meeting in February, as well as the Finance Committee presentations, we have further reduced it to 20%. We did get some adjustments in our final Anthem insurance rate and also had some reductions in other benefits, many of them around the unemployment, which we no longer needed to have because we are not reducing any of our teaching staff in force since we are accomplishing all of the staffing changes through attrition. We did have 2 additional students return from an out-of-district placement, so we are able to anticipate both transportation and tuition savings there. We did make some changes in salaries, the reduction of those 2 positions through attrition, as well as some of the new positions that were requested in athletics and math. We did move the musical, keep the musical instrument lease as part of the capital plan to begin in the 2023-24 school year. We removed student agendas since we will transition to a more technology-based student planner, given that all of our students have one-to-one devices. And the sidewalk repair as part of the capital plan is actually being addressed this year due to needs. We did have to increase some of our technology monies for additional devices for remote work. And we received the allocations of the ESSER 2 grant funds, which is a 2-year grant. And we are able to use not all of those funds, but some of those funds for new programs and items that we had identified in the budget. So a total reduction of $973,000 and change. So the town allocations and the proposed budget as of this evening is overall the Amity budget shows a 1.8 increase from the current school year. The town allocation for Bethany is actually going to be less than the current school year. It will drop by $17,000. So Ms. Huxley, I know you guys were asking for a 0. We actually did you one better and went below 0. The allocation for Orange is right below 1. And again, solely due to enrollment and the proportion of students in the district, the Woodbridge allocation is at 3.3%. And that is the end of the presentation. So I am happy to entertain questions if there are any. Oh, and we lost Mr. Brow too. And I didn't see him disappear.
Mr. Brown, I know he had mentioned earlier he would be on an appointment, so he'll be back momentarily, I'm quite sure.
Awesome, wonderful.
I would like to see if we can get some questions from our town representatives.
I don't have any
Sharon,
questions. I don't have any questions. I'm certainly going to vote for this. And if you look at the numbers, Woodbridge's number goes up by more than double the other 2 towns. So we know Orange is going to vote no, unfortunately. But I appreciate, I was expecting a really long process, and I've never seen so many letters written and correspondence back and forth. And I just was envisioning a real long headache problem, and this eliminates that. So I want to thank Dr. Byers and Terry for doing what they had to do, and thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Sharon, did you want to speak?
No, I don't think so. I have to say, I was extremely confused when the presentation was made to Bethany, because it was made after the last committee meeting here, and it was for what was it? It was like 2.5 on Monday, and then 3.5 on Tuesday. And we all just kind of freaked out, and now it's back down. I don't know. I was trying to find that information online. What I'm finding is, do you not have to file FOI so that you post all motions and draft minutes within 48 hours?
We do, yes. But there were no votes that were taken on the budget at the Board of Education meeting on February 8th. Because the first vote that occurs on the budget occurs through the AFC meeting. It occurs this evening. So on February 8th, we presented a proposed budget and received feedback from the board. And that was when it was a 2.81. And there was clear, strong feedback to return some of those teaching positions that had been proposed reductions. And so that's what we did, is make those returns. And we could only safely confirm a budget of 3.72 when we presented to Bethany the following night, because we literally had 24 hours to turn around the presentation. So Mr. Brow, I see that you've raised your hand.
Yeah, I'm sorry I got disconnected for a little bit, but I'd like to make a motion that we can use to address this budget, and thank you for the presentation and for the reductions, and for also for reducing the holdback for the medical, 30% back down to 22%. So I'd like to make a motion if nobody else has already made it.
No one has.
Chris, before you do that, let me make a couple of comments, if I may.
Okay. Well, you can make comments after the motion too.
Okay, go ahead.
But no. Go ahead, Joe. Yeah.
No, you want to make the motion to approve budget?
I was going to make a motion to approve proposed budget,
go ahead.
and then we could
could
talk about it. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the following proposed budget for the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 in the gross amount of $51,698,207 and the net amount of $50,495,237. And I know there's that difference there, and I think I don't have the exact percentages in front of me, but it's different for the towns. And I apologize to Woodbridge for the because they're a little higher this year because of enrollment and student population. But I can't help that.
No, you can't.
Unfortunately, but I do understand everyone's concerned. But look, Joe, go ahead and you make your comments now, and then we can talk some more.
I'll second.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
I think we do need to have a second before we can discuss.
Jenny seconded.
Thank you. That's okay.
Jenny seconded. Yep.
All right. So just a couple of quick things and Dr. Byers, you said that we were keeping the Mandarin teacher in the middle school.
Yes.
I want to make a comment on that because I highly support that decision, because my daughter Taylor, who is now a senior at Bryant, who's graduating in May, started her Mandarin education in the middle school, and she's now graduating Bryant with a minor in Chinese.
Oh wow!
So very impressive that she did that, and she her love for Mandarin started in 7th grade in the middle school. So I would certainly agree to keep that teacher in place, and hopefully there's enough of a demand to keep the teacher there, because it was a very worthwhile program. And I just wanted to make that comment that my daughter will be graduating with a minor in Chinese. So very good program. She loved it very much. So. And then the second thing, as you guys know, the town of Orange, we voted for a 0.47 increase. But I wanted to commend you, Dr. Byers and Terry, and your teams in the administration for all of your hard work. I know it was not easy to do what you did, but I appreciate your efforts. And unfortunately, I have the motion. Unfortunately, I can't vote for it, as you guys know. But I certainly agree with your thought process and going back and relooking at things, and the salaries and the reserves, as Chris already discussed, dropping down to 22% from 30%. I think those are all very good fiscally conservative approaches to this budget. So I thank you for your efforts, and I commend all of you for your efforts.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, it would really mean a lot to us if you put your vote behind that, and especially with the
I
Mandarin
know.
story.
Personally, yes. Personally, yes.
If Jim gives you a hard time, or Kevin, I will protect you. I will stand up.
Listen,
Actually, we don't even have to tell them. They won't ever see this. So
yeah, they won't even know.
they won't even know.
They won't even know. Listen, Chris, if I do that, would you take over my spot on the Board of Finance?
Sure
Oh,
thing.
I'm not giving him up.
Personally, I support this. Personally, yes. As a board, unfortunately, we can't, as you guys know, but I do appreciate all the efforts and the hard work that went into getting us this far.
Sharon, I see you have a comment.
Yes, I do. I'm going to actually, I agree with Joe, except that I'm going to vote for it. I was pleased to see all the changes that what you did was go in and really take a hard look about as to whether you really needed all of those reserves. And we appreciate the effort that you made. It was just, for me personally, as I said, it was very frustrating trying to find all the information, even though I knew it all had to be there somewhere. I never found, I don't think, the 3.72 presentation.
Those would have probably been at.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, at the Woodbridge and
Orange
finance meetings.
Yeah, okay. But so anyway, I think you've done an excellent job going through that. And actually, I support Joe's comment about the Mandarin, and the future is now. We've got to make sure we get there.
Well, thank you.
Sharon. Dr. Turner, did you have any comments to add?
They are pretty much in the same vein. I am astounded at the work you've done and the creativity you've shown in getting this budget down so far. I mean, you've cut it in half and then in half again. I can't believe how you've done that. I just want to remind everyone that I know that the pandemic is a special circumstance year, and we all have got to come together to bring these things into something we can try and afford. But we've got a lot of kids that are going to have a lot of needs and a lot of stuff to make up coming forward. And Amity can't provide the kind of education that keeps people moving into our area all the time and hold on to our stellar creative staff that manages to do these kind of things if we don't play catch up once in a while from all these budgets that have come in under our contracts. So thank you very much. I'm grateful for this budget, and I hope in the future we can be a little bit less squeezy with it.
Thanks.
Thank you,
I
Dr.
like that
Turner.
word.
Well,
That's a technical term, right?
I invented it today.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Turner and Terry Loomis. I know that Amity has been looking for efficiencies for the longest time. I remember going back to Jack Levine days and Dr. Brady, for those of you that were on the board of the AFC then. We were cutting because we were saving money all along. And right, Terry, you remember those days. You would always be asked to update us on the cost savings. So now we are pretty close to cutting it to the bone, especially with the over 3% increase in fixed costs and salaries alone. So to come to 1.8, to echo what everyone else here has already said, without sacrifice to the program or cuts to faculty and staff, is beyond commendable. So once again, I'll echo everyone else's comments by saying thank you for maintaining the quality and excellence of Amity while being ever so careful and mindful of the taxpayers' dollars. So thank you.
You're welcome.
We really do appreciate it, as you know. At this point, if there is no further discussion, I think, Dr. Byers, we can, what is that? If that's a clap or is that a raise a hand? It's a clap.
I was clapping.
Yay, great.
That was a clap.
Thank you. Dr. Byers, at this point, can we call the roll?
We absolutely can. Mr. Brow,
Yes.
Ms. Cardozo,
Yes.
Mr. Giglietti,
Yes.
Ms. Huxley,
Yes.
Mr. Nuzzo,
With a heavy heart, unfortunately, no.
Dr. Turner.
I'll make up for it, Joe, with an enthusiastic yes.
Thank you very much for that.
Very nice. And thank you all for your attention and the extra special meeting. Next steps, I would like to just ask Dr. Byers to refer to next steps. So next steps from here, now that the AFC has approved the budget, what happens next?
Next, it will go to the Board of Education on March 8th for approval from the Board of Education. And if it receives that approval, we are set to essentially go out to referendum. I know our town of Orange successfully just completed a referendum about 2 weeks ago. We are still waiting for feedback from Bethany and Woodbridge as to how they are hoping to accomplish the process, but we will no doubt get further guidance from the governor's office on how that's going to work this spring, but we are proceeding as if we are going to go to referendum in May.
Thank you, Dr. Byers. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right.
Thank you very kindly, and thank you all for your participation and your help in getting this budget approved. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Take care.